Cool. Well, great. Getting some people telling me that we're on here, so that's great news. This is what happens when you have three mountain guides trying to figure out how all of this works. We're a lot better with ropes than we are with computers. So, yeah, this is Barry Blanchard. I'm a senior guide, one of the three who's trying to figure this out. Although, I got to admit, I'm not trying to figure it out. I'm just sitting here and ready to tell stories. So, yeah, the first of our guides chats, and I'm going to talk about some bear encounters I've had over the years. The first one being in 1990 in the Columbia ice fields. In the summertime, it was June. I was 31 years old, and I had clients in their late 20s, maybe early 30s. Don and Rich had two gentlemen, and we had a alpine ice course that we were participating in. I was guiding, and they're pretty fit guys. So on June the 17th, we climbed Skyladder on Mount Andromeda. Then the next day, June 18th, we climbed the north face of Mount Athabasca. When you tally those two ascents up, it's 3,000 meters of up with 3,000 meters of down. So on the 19th, we were pretty tired boys. We decided to go up onto a snow cornice at Parker's Ridge, where the prevailing southerlies rake all the wind off the far side, the south side of Parker's Ridge and the Saskatchewan Glacier, and dump a whole bunch of snow on the north side. And there just happens to be a creek that runs parallel to the ridgeline for a couple hundred meters. So it develops a neve, or a snow patch, that makes it through 1 year. And it's a great place to teach crevasse rescue. And why is it great? Because it often forms with an overhanging cornice, about a 20 or 25 foot drop to a bench, and then a 45-degree slope leading down into the creek. So very real situation of what dropping into a cornice might, or into a crevasse might look like. So Don and Rich and I, we slept in, and we had a little later morning and headed up there, and we'd come onto this snow patch, and where we're going to do our exercise is probably about 100 meters of 10 or maybe 15 degree snow slope leading to the cornice and the 25-foot drop. And I'd shucked my pack off. Both Don and Rich had shucked theirs off, and thumped them down onto the moist summer snow. And in order that they didn't just take off down the slope, sliding off down the slope, we kind of braced them. And slippery kind of summer snow. And it was good to see that Don and Rich, as we came onto this neve, actually realized the threat of a fall away and a slide that would take them over this cornice. So they were paying extra attention to their ice axes and their footwork, which was great to see. So yeah, where we're going to do our exercise. So I take my ice axe and I draw a big M in the snow, and just want to diagram how we're going to divide the rope to do our crevasse rescue, 4 equal sections of rope. And got it diagrammed in the snow. And as I'm doing this, in the most casual voice you can imagine, just like this observation, Don says, "Oh wow, look, there's a bear." And I look up and I expect to see a little black bear roaming along Parker's Ridge a kilometer away. And I look up and I see a grizzly coming onto the snow patch, maybe 50 feet away from us. And I immediately go, "Oh crap, it's a grizzly, get down." And sorry, I was just looking at some communication from the other two mountain guides in the room, but I shouldn't pay attention to that. I should pay attention to the story. So I go, "Oh crap, it's a grizzly, get down." And we get down, and the bear is coming. And I can see the moist snow raking between his 6-inch claws as he paws his way into the snow. It's splashing up like melted butter. And he's coming. And he's coming directly at us. He isn't galloping, and he's kind of walking. He's not quite trotting, but he looks pretty intent on making contact. So it's like, oh my God, what can I do? So grab the packs. I said, "Just throw out the packs." We throw out the packs, and the packs immediately start sliding down the snow surface. 2 of them go over the cornice, disappear from view. Rich's pack, which is a brand new snow leopard pack. It cost them $400 back in 1990s. So they had cribbed the design of a Formula One driver's seat to try to make this pack really comfortable. Very expensive piece of gear. It stops. Bear does one of these, looks at the packs going over the edge, and just keeps coming. So now the bear is about 15 feet away, and I can see saliva gleaming on his canines, and it's jaundiced in color, just like he's been a smoker his whole life. And, you know, it's like, slide! I sit on my butt, I put my hands over my head, and I go whistling off down the snow slope and over the edge of the cornice. Wah! And, you know I over-rotated as I slid off the edge of the cornice because I'm doing this. I'm trying to roll down the windows rather than roll up the windows. And then, smack! And everything goes black, pin shots of white through my eyelids, my knees are up around my ears, and immediately right after me, smack, smack! And there's no fourth smack. So some person or some bear didn't come over the cornice. And I hop up and look over both shoulders, and both Don and Rich are there hopping up with me. 2 strides, we hit the 45-degree snow into a 3-point glissade. Wham! Down into the creek, splash, splash, splash across the creek, up the far side of the creek, sprinting as hard as we can. Very terrified of a grizzly chasing us. We get up to the other side, and I spin around, and I can see the bear. You know, it's just like classic Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. What are we going to do? We're going to jump. Are you crazy? We'll break our legs. We'll die if we jump. Well, I'm going to jump. Without the bear there, if I had suggested sliding down this snow slope and going over this cliff, both those guys would have looked at me like I'd lost my mind. And yeah, they would have none of it. You damn fool, you're going to break your legs. And with the bear there, they didn't even hesitate. Instantaneous agreement. All 3 of us sliding over the edge. So we spin around and we see the bear. He's on the snow slope and he's kind of investigating, sniffing around Rich's very expensive pack. So we've got this large natural kind of obstacle that the bear obviously doesn't want to cross. So we've got some safety. So, you know, the guys say, what should we do? I say, well, let's make some noise. Maybe we can scare them away. So we start banging our ice axes on the rocks and start shouting across at the bear. We're on the sunny side of the creek, so all the snow is melted on that side. And yeah, the bear, you know, just doesn't pay any attention to us. We scream and shout a little bit like idiots, and then we see him, you know, he grabs this $400 pack in his jaws and starts swinging it around, and this black cylinder comes shooting out of the pack. And Rich is like, oh my God, I just spent $400 on that pack. And this cylinder comes out, and Don ran a camera shop in Toronto, and Rich says, that's my 1600 millimeter Nikon lens. It hits the snow, goes whistling off down the snow slope over the cornice. And Don looks at him and goes, man, it'll come back like a shaker, like a mariachi band. Shut up, man! And yeah, then we see the bear, you know, rip the $400 pack wide open and let go of it. And it goes sliding off down the snow slope. And the bear actually does a double take. It's like, whoo, whoo, whoo. And he goes galloping up towards the edge of the cornice and comes to a stop and looks over the edge of the cornice, and he can see not only 1 pack, but 2 packs down there, because Don's pack rested on the bench. My pack went all the way down to the creek, so it's out of sight for us, out of our line of sight. And we can see the bear like, oh, oh. He looks down, he sees 2 packs, and he kind of gets excited. We can see him reaching with his forepaw, trying to get to, you know, reach the packs, but there's 25 feet of air between him and the packs. So he spins around, he digs in his claws and his hind claw, and he starts to reach over the edge of the cornice with his hind paw, like reaching in it. It looks so much like a toddler coming down the stairs, and his little tuna can tail tucked under, and he's reaching, trying to make this span. And finally he decides he can't make it. So he pulls himself back up on the snow and looks down again, and then goes galloping back along the edge of the cornice, and the cornice backs off the further down slope you go. So rather than overhanging, it starts to shallow out and eventually becomes just a snow slope. About halfway down, he does his reverse thing, reaches again, can't get down to the bench that'll lead him to the packs. So he gallops a little farther. It's a 45 continuous snow slope to the creek. And without a hesitation, this animal balletically and perfectly launches into a 4-claw bear glissade. He sinks all 4 claws into the snow slope and starts accelerating down the snow slope with plumes of snow spraying out from between his claws and waves of wind, just like looking at waves in the ocean going over kelp over his fur. And he's whistling down now. He's probably doing, I don't know, 30, 40 miles an hour. And we've given up banging on the rocks and making noise. And one of the guys asked me, what do we do now? I said, let's just watch and see what he does. And he comes to this sidewalk that'll lead him over to the packs, the bench in the cornice. And he just hammers on a complete stop and spins out of it and starts galloping towards the packs. And I just look at the guys, did you freaking see that? And we're just gobsmacked. It's like, holy crap. Anyone who thinks a bear is a lumbering, slow, clumsy animal, they're feline in their acrobatics and the explosive speed, faster than a horse. It's amazing. This animal gallops across, gets to the packs, goes by the $400 pack and sinks his jaws into what Don says, that's a low alpinist, man. They don't make those anymore. They quit making them 10 years ago. And it really was a classic, beautiful alpine pack. It's legendary in alpine climbing, the low alpinist. The bear sinks his jaws into it, somehow gets the shoulder strap around his neck, and he ends up lying on his back, playing around with the pack. And Don's lunch comes out of the top, and his lunch is in a Ziploc bag. And the bear's got it against his head against the snow slope, and he's butting it, bouncing it up and down against the snow slope, playing with it. And we're looking at this, just, amazed. And I say, okay, if he goes for my pack, we're not going to be able to see him. So we got to get out of here. Let's check out our escape. We look over the other side of the ridge, scree run down to large snow slopes that lead to tree lines. So we have a fast exit out of here. And just about that time, we turn around, we look back, and the bear puts his paw in the shoulder snap and snaps this shoulder snap like it's like a little necklace of candy alphabet around your neck. Just snap! And Don's like, that's my low alpinist! And Rich is like, yeah, I hear you can't get those anymore. Shut up, man! The bear, bored with that, hops up, looks down at the creek and sees my pack and starts galloping towards that. He's out of sight. All right, guys, we're out of here. Turn around, spin, run towards our escape, striding big strides down the scree, hit the snow slope, 3-point glissades. We get going 25 miles an hour in our glissades, huge plumes of snow coming off us. We lose 1,000 feet in about, couple minutes. Get to tree line, stand up out of our glissades, come out of the snow into the heather and the moss of tree line, and traverse over towards Wilcox Creek. No, anyways, there's a hostel up there, Hilda Creek Hostel. We start traversing towards there, and now we haven't seen the bear for a couple minutes. The bear must be gone. And the ridge line above us, instead of 1,000 feet above us, we traverse over 500 feet or so, and the ridge line shrinks to 400 feet above us because the ridge line is descending. And I look up, we're kind of casual now, like, wow, that was amazing. Did you see that? God, I almost give up my Nikon lens to have seen that. And I look up, and right over our heads, this big blonde head and shoulders pops up over the ridgeline, and it's back into the panic of having a grizzly checking you out. So it's like, oh my God, run! We start sprinting through the forest, and it was around the time of the release of the movie Platoon. And I felt so much like, one of the characters in there sprinting through the jungle. My ice axe overhead, vaulting over fallen trees and stuff, just like they're not there. And really not as concerned about my clients anymore. It's kind of every man for himself at this point. And we clamber out of the timber onto the road that leads to the hostel, and there's two German gals hitchhiking the world who are walking out of the hostel. Come on, there's a grizzly, get back in the hostel. So we, corral them back into the hostel. We all store them in there, close the door. And they're, wow, a grizzly, I'd like to get a picture. And yeah, I don't think that's what we want to be doing right now. So after about a half hour, no more sign of the grizzly. Okay, let's see if it's safe to go out. Girls go off. We all we go with them to the highway. They stick out their thumbs. Pretty much the first car stops for them, takes them off down south. And we're like, wow, we got to go get our packs and stuff. I said, we need to get in touch with the wardens. We need the help of the wardens. So I start walking towards the Columbia Icefield Center, hitchhiking as I go. No one picks me up. I walk halfway there. Finally, someone picks me up, gets me to the Icefield Center, and I tell my story to the people at the front desk pretty quick. A couple of wardens from Jasper respond. And even though technically the event happened in the very north part of Banff Park, Jasper wardens are a lot closer. So they responded first. And they record these kind of bear encounter stories. So first thing they want to do is get the story. So we go back in the trucks to where my guys are waiting in our vehicle. And the two wardens record the story, and I can tell one of them is an old hand. He's been at the job for a while, and he's holding the recorder. And when I'm telling him the story about the ripping apart of the packs and stuff and going over the edge, I can see he's cracking up. He's nearly dropping his recorder thing. He's having a lot of fun with this. So then it's time for them to go get our packs. And they go into their warden truck, and they get a shotgun and a rifle. And they come out, and they load the shotgun and the rifle. They got real ammunition in there. And they branch off about 100 feet apart, and they start up towards the timber, and they say back over their shoulders, hey, you'll let us know if he doubles back around on us. Oh, yeah, we'll be shouting and screaming. So they head up in bear formation, and they're gone an hour, and they come back down. They've got our packs, and they've got a German photographer named Hans who just happened upon the site and started taking pictures of the bear tracks. And they come back down, give us our stuff, and just then the Banff wardens arrive in their pickup truck. So 4 green suits and 2 brown vehicles with, I don't even know if they have beavers on them at that point in time. But anyways, the 4 wardens start to have a conflab, the guys from Banff. Well, do you think it's that teenage boar that we've been having problems with at Parker's Ridge? Well, I can't see how it's any other one. Do you think it warrants a trail closure? Well, I don't know about that. I think we should maybe go have a coffee and talk about it. And like that, all 4 disappear, gone to the Icefield Center for coffee. And Rich looks at me a little later and he goes, I bet they have donuts too. And yeah. So kind of a funny bear story. And I've often thought about that bear. For the next decade, I thought about him a lot. He was a 3-year-old. He hopefully came to maturity. Hopefully he got to establish an area for himself. Hopefully he got to hunt and kill. Hopefully he got to mate. And there's a really great book about grizzlies, in my opinion. It's called Grizzly Years. It's by a guy named Doug Peacock, who was the template for George Washington Hayduke in Edward Abbey's book, The Monkey Wrench Gang. And Peacock points out that the Sioux believe that the Great Bear is a god put on earth to keep humans humble. And that really hit me when I read that. And that bear is probably passed on now, but I hope he had a really long and good life for a grizzly. So, 10 years later, and a number of 1,000 days of out doing my job as a mountain guide down the road, probably a couple thousand more days in the field. And summertime again, August 19th, 2010, myself and a client have done a very ambitious day where we've left at 5:30 in the morning from the Lake O'Hara parking lot, hiked up the road, ascended to the North Victoria Collier Col, and then traversed the ridgeline to Pope's Peak. So Collier Peak, unnamed peak, and I'm probably forgetting a peak in there, and then finally Pope's Peak, descent, rappel, scrambled down to Ross Lake, and 12 hours after leaving the car, 12 and a half hours, we're starting to go get back towards the car. We finally hit the old highway. And along that ascent, I had an ice hammer because I wanted to save weight, only bring one ice tool. And I had it slotted in my really light harness. And at one point, my feet kind of slipped out a little bit on some scree, and the spike of the hammer hammered into a point of the limestone, and I went down, and the head of the hammer came up, steered in between my ribs, and was just perfect to fit in between a couple ribs and damaged some muscles in between my ribs. So I was in a bit of pain by the time we got down to the road. And I wasn't able to yodel as I usually do when I'm in bear country. Yodel every 100 meters to let them know that I'm coming. So but it kind of hurt too much to do that. So end of a long day, we're walking along the road, and every so often we're seeing a clump of bear crap, and he's obviously eating a lot of berries. And I can kind of see the trees or the bushes beside the road there's no berries in them, so he's been through there. So I'm taking a little bit of confidence in that. And then, Dave, my client, and I are walking along, not really paying a lot of attention to anything other than thinking of getting to the car and the water we got there and ending this great long day in the mountains. And suddenly I hear a hiss, like shh, and I look to my right, and about 15 feet away, stood up and paddling in a stand of berries, is a grizzly, and he's telling us in very uncertain terms to get the hell away from his berry patch. So I say to my client, who's a pretty cool guy, good strong engineer from Calgary, don't scream, don't run. And I just say, okay, Mr. Bear, this is your place. These are your berries. We're just going to back up here. We know this is your place. And we start walking back, and my client and I are just walking back. Look down, don't look right at him. And I keep talking to him. And the bear lets us back up and walk away. And probably 20 meters away from the bear, I say, okay, let's turn around, keep looking. I keep talking to him, get my client in front of me. And we walk away, and the bear let us walk away. But now he's between us and the car. So we end up having to bushwhack through all of the berries he's already eaten along the side of Sink Lake, get to the CPR main line, and start walking down the railroad tracks and see where he's gone after rodents digging up beside the railroad track. And we got around him and got to the car. And it was so cool that my guy, Dave, didn't freak out and start running and screaming, because about the last thing you want to do when you come close to a grizzly or a black bear for that matter. So, the next year, 2011, September, one of my very best clients, a return client who I've been climbing with now for 15, 20 years, Dr. Takaneo Mahara from Japan, who doesn't speak a lot of English, nor do I speak a lot of Japanese, but we seem to be able to make our climbing systems work with a lot of okay, 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 shouted from, as much as 200 feet apart, 60 meters of rope length. And we're going to go mountaineering. We're going to go up into the Lake Louise group and try to climb the North Glacier on Mount Aberdeen. So once again, an early start, walking away from the car at 5:30 in the morning, headlamp on, steep switchbacks up to Saddleback Pass, and then we're going to contour around into Surprise Valley and get to our route. So we've been going for about 45 minutes. We both heated up quite a bit. We've stripped off a lot of our clothes. We have gloves, lightweight hats, and base layers on. Got our ski poles in hand. I've got two 50 centimeter snow stakes anchored to the outside of my pack. They're made out of aluminum. I anticipate being able to anchor with them on the snow of the glacier and on the upper part of the route. And, excuse me. Yeah, we're storming up, and I'm yodeling, just like I was yodeling a couple minutes ago, every 100 meters. And I can hear the yodels echo off the far side of the valley. And I'd been to this ascent the month before, and I had exited into Paradise Valley, and I knew I was going to be in bear country a long time that day, so I carried bear spray. And then in the interim, I'd gone to Mount Louis, another day where I would be 4 hours in kind of bear country, so I carried bear spray. And within about 10 minutes of leaving the car on that ascent, my pack hooked the safety clip on my bear spray, and I sprayed myself in the hip. And if you've ever had that stuff on you, it's like a chemical burn. Actually, at the end of a very long day of burning, like feels like napalm, I called the poison control center, and they said put yogurt on it. And that helped a little bit, but not a lot. So this day I'm planning to descend the glacier we ascend. I think I'm only going to be in bear country for a couple hours. So I left the bear spray behind, which in retrospect was a mistake. It would have given me another option. And one of the lessons I think we learned from this encounter with the bear that I had that day. But back to that day, Take and I turned off our headlamps. Dawn's happening, and we're just getting to the top of tree line. The larches are around, really cool to see the larch trees. I'm yodeling, echoing these yodels off the sides of the trail, and we're just coming up to a switchback, and a grizzly stepped up from the downside of the trail onto the trail, squared off his shoulders at us, and looked directly at us. And he was about 30 feet away. And once again, I said, "Oh crap, it's a grizzly. Take, don't scream, don't run." Take's pretty cool. He just waited, and I started talking to the bear. "It's okay, Mr. Grizzly. This is your place. Okay, Take, let's walk away. We're going to leave you this place. Look down. Don't look right at him. Let's just back up here. Take and I are going to back away." And I'm thinking this bear is going to let me back away. But that instant moment of eye contact with both of those grizzlies in the last year and a bit, one thing that transpires instantaneously is he's in charge. He's top dog. I'm going to do whatever he will allow me to do. Be humble. You're not top dog here. That guy's bigger, meaner, and if he chooses to be, he can get rid of you in a heartbeat. So that is primal, and it's instantaneous. And okay, what can I do to get Take and I away from this bear? And he's allowing us to back up and talk to him, and I'm thinking he's going to let us turn and walk away. Okay, Take, we're 50 feet away now. Let's turn away. Don't run. Don't scream. And we start walking away, looking over our shoulder. I'm still talking to the bear, and I think, great, it's over. And the bear gets up and starts walking after us. And it's like, okay, well, he's letting us walk. Let's keep walking. So we walk, continually talking to the bear. Take looks over once in a while, and I can see the fear in his eyes. And I'm just like, it's okay, Take, let's just keep walking. Bear is about 30 to 40 feet behind us, and we walk like that for 10 or 15 minutes. We probably walk 300 meters and lose a certain amount of elevation and go through a couple switchbacks. And I'm thinking, what can I do? What can I do? And at one point, the bear sits down sideways on the trail, and I think, oh, good, it's over. He's going to leave us. And I keep walking, and he gets up and keeps walking after us. And then there's a branch trail that comes in that we took a shortcut around, and I think he looks down the branch trail. I think, oh God, great, he's gonna go down the branch trail. And he looks down there and keeps walking after us. And he starts to close the distance. And it's like, okay, the rules have changed. I need a tree. I got to have a tree to get up. And I look, and we're in an avalanche path. None of the trees are higher than 5 feet tall. We're in the Dogleg Couloir beneath Mount Fairview. And it's like, oh my God. And I look, the edge of the avalanche path is probably, 40 or 50 feet in front of me, and I see one Engelmann spruce. And it's got limbs that come all the way down it. And I go, that's my tree. And we're walking, and the bear's starting to close the distance, and things are getting more tense. And I say to Take, undo your waist belt, undo your chest belt. And we get to the edge of the avalanche path, and I look over my shoulder, and the bear is 15 feet behind us, and he rears up a bit, brings his shoulders up in his head, and then he does this with his forepaws. Wham, wham on the ground, and that was it. Take, drop your back, come on, follow me. And we run off into the low growth, And I'm praying that he goes for the packs. Buy ourselves some time by him going for the packs. And we sprint to the Engelmann spruce. And I come on, Take, come on. And I start breaking branches and clawing my way up this thing. And we're climbing basically for our lives. And Take's right on my heels doing a great job. You got to break branches out of the way to fit. We're scrambling up this tree, eventually climbing as hard as we can. So we're anaerobic. And we get up 33 feet up the tree, and there's a couple wine bottle sized branches. And we stop, and we can hear the bear tearing the packs apart and the clanging of the aluminum snow stakes banging together. It's like, oh God, thank God, he's gone for the packs. And we sit down on these branches, and you can't just sit on a branch in a tree. If you just try sitting, you'll fall out of the tree. So we wrap our arm around the tree, and we're hearing the bear rip up the packs and the clanging of stuff. And we need a window to see. So I break some branches so I can see a patch of the trail. Every so often I see him come into that window of visibility, dragging something, clang, clang, clang. Things go silent for a while. So this goes on for an hour, and Take and I are getting quite cold. There's a wind coming up valley. So a lot of the time we're shaking. We're getting moderately hypothermic. And at about an hour and 15-minute mark, I see a helicopter take off from the Lake Louise Warden compound. And I can see people in the helicopter. And I know some of those guys are my fellow mountain guides who are now public safety guys. And I can't talk to them. My cell phone and my radio are in my pack. So Take and I are stuck sitting in the tree. And about the hour 30 mark, there's been no noise for a while. And Take is like, can we out of tree? And I say, no, we got to make some noise, Take. So he starts screaming and yelling for help. And we see the bear, and he comes into our window of visibility and starts coming towards the base of the tree. So I grab my headlamp, and I start screaming and swearing at the bear, like, get away from us, bear, get away from us, bear. And I throw my headlamp at the bear, and I miss, but he does a little double take and then goes back to the trail, and we can hear him start ripping the packs up again. Okay. 2-hour mark, nothing happening. Take's like, can we get out of tree? And I look down at the base of the tree, and I see smoke. I see smoke move, and I realize it's the bear. He's been waiting at the base of the tree. And that was just quite horrifying to realize he was waiting for us and to see how amazing he is camouflaged against the forest floor. He's absolutely invisible. Until he moves, you can't see him. And then it's like smoke, and it's, I don't know, he's just invisible to that point. So I grab Take's headlamp, and I'm screaming and swearing at the bear. And I throw down the headlamp again. I don't know if I hit him because I can't really see because he's not moving. And we're getting quite hypothermic at this point, and then nothing for a while. Oh God, hopefully he walks out to the trail and he looks downhill, and I think, oh God, he's going to go away. Please let him go away. But he moves uphill, and then nothing. Take and I are quite cold. Take's like, can we get out of tree? And I'm like, no, man, we can't. And it's pushing the 2-hour and 45-minute mark when I feel a vibration in the tree, and I look at Take. Take, did you move? And I realize immediately that it wasn't Take. It's the bear climbing into the tree. And I'm like, oh my God, Take, up, we got to go up. So we start breaking branches, climbing up the tree, and we're climbing for our lives again. And we can feel the bear coming up the tree. We can hear him breaking branches. We can feel his every movement by vibration in the base, his movement through the tree. And we get 56 feet up a 65-foot high Engelmann spruce tree. And the top of the tree had been cut off at some point by something, and 2 branches had taken over as the leads. One was the size of my forearm, one was the size of my bicep. So I'm got my foot in a lower branch. Take's there, and I'm windsurfing this tree to try to keep it from breaking. And my default position at this point was to scream in abject terror for help in a voice that I didn't recognize as my own. It was like the voice of one of my 13-year-old daughter when she's really scared these days. I didn't recognize the voice coming out of me. And it was just, help, help, help. help, help. And yeah, you know, as a mountain guide and an alpinist, you're used to dealing with a lot of adrenaline over time, but they're usually very finite episodes of adrenaline. A serac collapses and it goes on for 20, 30 seconds, and it's quite scary to see, and they're very threatening. But you get a spike of adrenaline and it goes down. This had been going on for 3 hours. I went through a year's worth of adrenaline in these 3 hours. And yeah, you know, the bear's coming up the tree, and I'm thinking, I have 2 young daughters. What are we going to do? And I think I'm going to jump to that tree. And I'm thinking, okay, I can jump and stick that tree over there. And then I think Take's never going to be able to do that. So how am I going to get lower than Take? I'm going to have to kick at the bear's face. And the bear's coming up the tree. He's still coming. We can feel him coming up the tree. We can hear the branches breaking. And I look down. He's 33 feet up the tree. We have eye contact. And I can see into his black eyes, and they're kind of unreadable. And I just switched my voice and went to a different place, a really deep baritone. I got really mad, and I started in a very deep baritone, just shouting and swearing at the bear. Get out of the tree, bear! Get out of the tree right now! Go away, bear! And for whatever reason, the bear turned around and started down the tree. And I was to learn later that maybe go away, bear sounded enough like hey, bear, which is his conditioning, because he'd been in a lot of trouble before this. And some of the things that had control was to hit him with bean bags out of a shotgun. So before that was applied, there would be hey, bear. So maybe that sent him down the tree, maybe not. But for whatever reason, he went out of the tree. So Take and I are up there windsurfing the top of this tree. If we had gone any higher, the tree would have broke. Maybe he realized if he came up, his 300-400 pounds would break the tree. And he goes down, and nothing happens till the 3-hour mark. We're getting hypothermic again. Then we hear this clop, 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 clop. And I'm thinking, man, he's snapping his jaws. He's establishing a perimeter down there. Then I realize it's a pair of humans' hands clapping, and it's some guy hiking up the trail that the bear nor we went down. We took the shortcut trail, and I could hear this. So I shout out, there is an aggressive grizzly in the area. We've been in a tree for 3 hours. Do you have a cell phone? No, I don't have a cell phone. Can you go back and get help? What if I see the bear? Climb a tree. How do I climb a tree? You'll figure it out. So we hear this gentleman from the south retreating, going, hello, 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 hello. And his hellos get smaller and smaller, and then they disappear. And I think, oh boy, I hope the bear didn't get him. And about 20 minutes after that, there was a guy in shorts came up the trail that we were going down. And then I knew the bear was gone. So Take and I come out of the tree. We come running down to our packs. It's carnage. The bears ripped all our stuff apart. And, you know, this guy, Christoph, is from Germany. And he's looking at the carnage of our packs. And I say, there's a grizzly in the area. And he goes, oh, really? A grizzly? I would really like to get some pictures. And I'm like, you are so unclear of the concept, dude. And I rip my cell phone out of my pack, call Banff Dispatch. They tell me they're aware of the situation. So the gentleman made contact, the southern gentleman, and someone's responding on foot, one of the wildlife specialists. So they say, please stay on my cell phone. I get out my VHF radio, screw in the antenna, fire it up, and I hear the chatter on the radio, and I say, breaker, breaker, this is Barry Blanchard. Me and my client have just spent 3 hours in a tree. Yeah, we're aware of it. This is Alex, Barry. I'm coming up on foot. So nice to hear Alex's voice. And then about, 10 minutes later, another young man came up the trail that none of us had gone. He had handlebar mustache and earbuds in, so he didn't really hear what was going on around him. We told him, okay, we have to stay here. Alex told me on the radio, everyone has to stay. The trail is closed. Christoph wanted to go up higher and see if he could find the bear. Christoph, you know, it's against the law now. You got to stay here with us. And then finally Alex showed up, and he had a shotgun over his shoulder. And that shotgun made me feel really good. Shotguns usually are neither here nor there for me, but that one made me feel protected. and that felt really good. And it felt really good to hand over some of the responsibility of our situation to Alex. And Alex looked down at the ground, and 2 Ziploc bags made by our kitchen with mixed vegetables were in them. And the bear hadn't eaten them. He'd eaten pretty much everything else in our packs. And Alex looked down and he said, he's not eating his vegetables, which was just such a great little bit of levity at that point. And over the radio, he had asked me when I first made contact, did you see ear tags? I said, yeah, Alex, I saw a yellow ear tag and a green ear tag. And he said, bear number 8. And it was bear number 8, a bear that Alex had spent a lot of time working with. And Alex got us back down to the parking lot, and it was really nice to get into the car and drive away and leave mountaineering in the Lake Louise group alone for a little bit. So I think we may have some questions here, may have some time for that. So if my lovely assistant Tim, one of the other mountain guides trying to figure this all out, wants to hold me up some questions, maybe I can answer some questions. What should we do? What lessons have you learned? Well, some of the lessons that I've learned is that bears, both black and grizzly bears, are so aware of us so much of the time. And I think the best thing we can do is let them know we're coming. Don't surprise them. And the amount of story I've been told by the people who work with these animals that, remote cameras, the bear's 4 or 5 meters off the trail, and it hears us coming, and it gets low, lets us walk by, and goes back to what we're doing, or they were doing. Basically don't want to have a lot to do with us. And so making noise, I think, is one of the principal things to take away. And definitely bear spray. Although having relived this close encounter with bear number 8 in my mind, bear spray would have given me another option. And I know now with our protocols and training, we're supposed to stand our ground, get the bear spray out, and hold it and be ready to deploy it, and basically have a standoff with the bear. And I may be at a point in my life with more kind of contact with bears to be able to do that. But I can say unequivocally on that day in 2011, I couldn't have done that. I would have done everything I did the same, and I would have had the bear spray in the tree and had that as an option to spray it at the bear, but I would not have stood there and tried to stare him down as he walked towards me. Now maybe, but back then, no. Carrying bear spray, do it all the time now. I like to joke that I don't even go out and take the trash out in Canmore without bear spray. But interestingly, in the 1990s and a lot of my earlier career, bear spray wasn't a tool we had. So I, did what I did and got my clients and I away from a grizzly who was going to make contact. And you spend more time in bear country and learn more things. And one of the key things to also take away is try to figure out what the bear's up to, what the bear wants, what the bear's intent is. And that may, determine how you're going to respond. First story, did you get packs? Oh, our packs at Parker's Ridge. Yeah, our packs came back. Actually, the 2 wardens who went up with the shotgun and the rifle collected everything and came back down to the packs with us. And they spent time with us until it was coffee time, and they took off, which is a bit of a joke between us and the wardens because, we actually know they do get time to drink coffee and eat donuts. How do we... That's it. I think that's all the questions we got. So, thank you all for showing up for this Grip First Guides chat. As you can probably tell, these are very significant stories in my life. And it's been quite amazing to see these animals do what they do and get close to them and not have had any negative consequence from that. And I do have a buddy who was a mountain guide out guiding on the coast, cleaning salmon on a river where a grizzly was fishing across the river from him in a salmon run where there's so much food. The grizzly's eating as much as he wants. My buddy Jim is cleaning salmon in a very rustic little cleaning table on his side of the river. And Jim loses kind of concentration on the bear, and the bear swims the river. And Jim looks up and the bear is coming towards him. And Jim just kind of knew that there wasn't any aggression in the bear. And the bear came up and touched Jim's hand with its nose, sniffed, turned, and walked away. So there are incredible encounters between us and bears like that. Would I recommend doing what Jim did? No. But man, would I want that encounter with a bear that Jim had? I think I would. So stay tuned for next week's talk. These will be weekly, and hopefully they will be a little more seamlessly than the beginning of this one. And we hopefully have the technology figured out. So thanks for showing up, and have a good day.
One more question.
Got one more question.
Hannah, grizzlies or black, which one will be more prompt to approach you?
Grizzlies or black bears, which ones will be more prompt to approach you? I think it depends on the motivation, and I think they're both equally as prompt. If they want to come and get you out of what they're doing, they have a number of reasons for wanting you out now, and I think they're both going to come at you faster than a racehorse. So you have no chance of outrunning them. So if they're coming at you that fast, hopefully you got bear spray and you can get it out and you can spray, because that's going to be your tool.